everyone, Dustin here from Dustin's Dynasty. We're beginning our new series called Being Prepared, and in this special one, this is the first one because it is part of life, it is part of what is expected, and I just experienced it, so I felt we needed to start a new series of emergency preparedness as we come into the spring storms and spring weather. This one is specifically related to power outages. I had just went through a 16-hour, I believe 16 or 17-hour power outage last night, and today I felt like I needed to make a presentation and explain some of the things that helped me in my journey last night and through the day, the morning when I woke up, of the different the different things that helped me get through it. So we're gonna share with this, and it's going to be on my website, so it's always going to be a good reference. So today we're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about what power outages are and how they happen. We're going to talk about some preparedness information for ways individuals with disabilities in general can be help make things be smoother during those instances. We can also work towards building a kit, and more so building a kit towards those with sensory issues. And finally, we'll share some resources that can help you. So what is a power outage? So a power outage may impact the whole community and economy. A power outage is when power goes out unexpectedly. It may disrupt communication, water, and transportation. Not everybody, some people have water, some people, transportation's easy, and sometimes more days now, it disconnects communications. It can close retail businesses. In fact, it's mid-afternoon the next day and the power was restored this morning, and there's a good bit of businesses in my town that are still closed as of this moment. And same with grocery stores, some gas stations, ATMs, banks, and other services. It can cause food spoilage and water contamination. We'll get into some things about that. And it will prevent the use of medical devices. So some tips to get through a power outage just in general. You should always keep your freezers and refrigerators closed as much as you can. You should not use a gas stove or oven to heat your home. You should disconnect any appliances and electronics to avoid electrical surges when the power comes back on. So, that could be shutting down all unnecessary things that would not be essential when the power comes on, turning off lights, turning off computers, unplugging microwaves, anything that you think can be of an excessive power. You should have an alternate plans for refrigerating medicines if your medicine requires refrigeration or have any other power-dependent medical devices. You should check with local officials about heating and cooling locations open near you. We have a very advocating and very powerful mayor here in our little town, and he was very upfront with everything that was going on throughout the night and to today. So the whole town's not back in power, but he did keep everybody abreast of what was going on and where they could go get warm, and so as did the neighbors of the neighboring communities. So I think social media has helped in that great sense to make sure that people know locally where to go. It's also advisable not to use candles. Candles are a fire hazard. And and there's prone-ability with fire and things like that, especially if you live in high rises or apartment buildings, those things should be avoided. So how can you protect yourself during a power outage? And the way we're going to talk about is prepare yourself. Take an inventory of the items that you rely on for electricity. That can be things such as telephones, cell phones, tablets, other entertainment devices. Anything that requires some use of electricity or some use of a way that has to be recharged through power. Anything that needs to be recharged through power, used through power, a TV, media connection, any of those things. You should plan by having batteries or other alternative sources to meet your needs when the power goes out, such as a portable charger or a power bank. And to be honest, last night it did help. I mean, I didn't use them last night, but as the morning waned and I got up this morning, I did use the power bank to charge my batteries, just so I knew, because we didn't know, how long the power would be out. And, luckily for my part of town, it did come on in a few hours in the morning, but other parts are still without power. So it's very imperative to have a power bank or some sort of way to recharge your stuff should the power go for long. It's also wise to, put it on a battery saver if you can, or a battery reducer. Have flashlights for every household member, and determine whether your home phone will work in a power outage or how long the battery backup will last. So a lot of phones, if you have all cordless phones and you're still on a landline, first and foremost, you should automatically have some sort of battery backup, either in the cordless and a lot of people have broadband phone now, so that's kind of a thing. Also, having some sort of, in a way, having a corded phone, of an old corded phone, just to jack into the jack in case you need to make a call. It's very imperative to have those things just in the event of the emergency. Now, some people have cell phones, that's great, and as long as you can keep them charged and usable throughout the process, or have any backup phones or anything possible so that you can communicate to others in an emergency. So you should know your medical needs, and if you have any medical needs, you should talk to about if you have anything that requires the use of power, you should talk to your medical provider about a power outage plan that for medical devices powered by electricity, or if your medication needs to be refrigerated. I do know that some power utility companies will work and try to put you on a priority schedule. As I've seen today, and I think I've seen this time and time again because I've learned, public housing complexes are usually the first to be lit. That's how the power grid was built, and it was built around them. If the power grid was built before these housing complexes were built, so that it was staged in a way so that people could get back to their homes and get some sort of power, especially, and there's a list, I believe, when there is issues. So you need to be aware of that, and you should make your utility also aware of when things such as the life-sustaining things such as oxygen or other things may require that. So we're going to talk about food storage a little bit. You should have enough non-perishable food and water. I know it's not always possible these days, but you should try your best to. As I said before, keep freezers and refrigerators closed. It's very important. You don't want your food to spoil. The refrigerator will keep food cold for about 4 hours, so keeping that door shut will help. A full freezer will keep the temperature for about 2 days. Use coolers with ice if necessary. And you should monitor the temperatures with a thermometer. You throw out any food that has if the temperature is 40 degrees or higher. Returning after a power outage. So when in doubt, throw it out. Throw any food again who has been exposed with temperatures of above 40 degrees or higher for 2 hours or more, or that has an unusual odor, color, or texture. If the power is out for more than a day, discard any medication that should be refrigerated unless the drug label says otherwise. Consult your doctor or pharmacist if you immediately need a new supply. So next on our agenda, we're going to talk about information specifically geared for individuals with all disabilities. And while my site is a autism-based site and focuses a lot on autism, it also focuses on all disabilities. So a little disclaimer there. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get informed. So know what disasters could affect your area and which ones could call for an evacuation or when to shelter in place. So in fact, for a power outage, more than likely the best thing you can do, and if it is storming particularly, and if you know you can withstand it, it should be best to shelter in place if you have the tools and things ready to manage yourself. If you cannot and can you get to a shelter, that or a warming center that is open, that would be advisable too. You just have to weigh out. You have to evaluate each situation as it comes by the government declarations or government orders. You should keep a NOAA weather radio turned on to your local emergency station and monitor TV and radio as long as you can. You should have mobile alerts such as code red or similar warnings about severe weather in your area. I would recommend that you check with your local emergency management agency. They will have the link to whatever your municipality or emergency management agency will have about getting on an alert list that can be sent to your emails and cell phones. You should download the FEMA app and get weather alerts from the National Weather Service for up to 5 different locations within the United States. Some planning steps. Many city, county, and emergency management systems maintain voluntary registries for people with disabilities to self-identify in order to receive targeted assistance during emergencies and disasters. You should contact your local emergency management office to find out more. And for Pennsylvania, they're on our emergency resources, and that is www.dustindynastyusa.com/resources/emergency. And on that, there's a link list, and of that, you will find a Pennsylvania-specific information. And through linking with the Autism Pennsylvania, we were able to I was able to locate all the list of the emergency registries for every municipal county in Pennsylvania. So if you are on dialysis or other life-sustaining medical treatment, you should know the availability and location of more than one facility that can help you. So you should know of the nearby dialysis clinics or other life-sustaining places that you must go if you need to, hospitals, things like that nature. And you should always have, the ambulance should know these areas too. So if you use medical equipment that requires electricity, talk to the doctor or healthcare, and they'll try to work with you to keep it running. You can also ask your power company to put you on a full list for priority power, and that was likely why I was put on the power grid so early this morning, was because of the priority list. I'm in a community, so that kind of helps. So some more planning steps. About half of Americans take medicine every day. An emergency can make it difficult to refill the prescriptions in front of open pharmacy. So you should always have your medicine ready, especially when there's a storm. You should plan for children and adults who may have difficulty in unfamiliar or chaotic environments. If you have to go somewhere, so you should consider a service or animal and plan for food, water, supplies. If you need to evacuate, you'll need to know whether the shelter allows pets, and since some shelters only allow pets or support animals. If you have a communication disability, consider printing cards, storing information on your devices, and how to communicate. There's also, through my website, again, at dustindynastyusa.com/resources/emergency, there's also links to communication boards and cards, so you should have them printed in case of an emergency. You should also keep a list of the nearest medical facilities, local hospitals, and nearest transportation. So moving on, we're going to talk more about building a kit. And this is just a kit in general. We'll get into more about the sensory specific stuff later, but right now we're going to talk about building a kit. And when we talk about building a kit, we're going to talk about some basic tools you should have. You should have a cooler and chemical ice packs if you need to refrigerate your medicine. If you use an augmentative communication device or any other assisted technologies, you should plan how you will evacuate with the devices and how you will replace equipment if it is lost or destroyed. You should always keep your model information and note where the equipment came from, such as Medicaid, Medicare, private insurance, and so forth. You should keep handheld electronic devices charged and loaded with videos and activities. You should purchase spare chargers for electronic devices and keep them charged. You should try to locate old devices that can be used in the event of a prolonged power event. And you should always consider a pair of noise-canceling headphones to decrease the sensory stimuli. So more basic tools of the trade. a full list of medications, their dosages, and any allergies. Extra eyeglasses, contacts, hearing aids, and batteries. Copies of insurance and Medicare cards. Contact information for doctors, relatives, and friends who should be notified if you are hurt. Battery-powered or hard crank radio with a no-weather radio and a tone alert. That is what kind of notified me of the event going on, and it notified me a couple days ago, and I was able to prepare by having everything ready to go. And it did happen, so that's what we prepare, and we reassess the next time. You should always have a flashlight. It was dark last night when the power went out. A first aid kit is always a must. And extra batteries. You can't never have enough batteries. Maps. You should always have a map. And I thought about this too. Probably go to the city and buy a map because it's very important to have one. Cell phone with a battery charger and a backup battery. Some more supplies. Now this is more because of COVID and things have kind of increased it, but you should always have them anyway. Mask, soap, hand sanitizer, some disinfecting wipes in order to disinfect surfaces, important family documents such as copies of insurance policies, ID and bank account records saved electronically or in a waterproof portable container. Mess kits, paper cups, plates, paper towels, and plastic utensils. Paper and pencil. Books, games, and activities for children or other individuals who may have needs. So maintaining your kit. It's important. You built the kit, so why not maintain it? After assembling your kit, remember to maintain it so it's ready. Keep canned food in a cool, dry place. Store boxed in tightly lid plastic or metal containers. Replace expired items as needed, and rethink items every year to base it off your family's needs. Some storage locations that might help. In the home, you should have a kit in a designated place and have it ready in case you have to leave home quickly. Make sure all your family members know where this is kept. Work, if you should be prepared to shelter at work for 24 hours. Your work kit should include food, water, and other necessities like medicine, as well as comfortable walking shoes and stored in a grab-and-go case. In the car, in case you are in a car stranded, you should keep supplies in the car. Moving on to sensory needs. So technology, we know that having a sensory disability, we often rely on technology to stimulate ourselves or keep ourselves occupied so that we're able to regulate ourselves and keep ourselves going. So, we should always take inventory of what kind of backup energy supplies we want to need. We want to stock up on extra batteries for hand or electronics, toys, tablets, and medical equipment. We want to consider what kind of technology is used. We want to plan for low or no tech solutions, such as if you are in a manual wheelchair, you may want to look at an operated chair and picture cards or communication boards instead of a tablet. And I said again, we can have those. Some of those are available on my website at the address. I'll give that at the end. So one thing that people with sensory needs may have is a fear of the dark. And in fact, it was dark last night, so I can kind of relate to this. So you should look into a special flashlight or a lamp that the individual or you can look at and if they are particularly anxious in the dark. Glow sticks and glow-in-the-dark bracelets or necklaces are safe and fun for those who seek safety and sensory stimuli to hold on to. So we're going to talk about activity and sensory backpack for a minute. I have one. It's not so much for emergency preparedness. It is for when I can't get access to stimuli or regulating myself properly, and it has the tools necessary in the event something would happen. So you would make a special activity backpack. It could be for emergencies. It could it's sort of emergency. It's when things don't go our way, with fun activities and snacks that one would enjoy. Include some fidget toys and sensory activities. The dollar store is a great place to stock up on these items, by the way. For some adults, this can also include the need to keep them occupied at times, such as a power outage or a broadband outage. We've had some broadband outages earlier last year, so that was also a great help too. And if they can participate Include them in the process. They will feel prepared and confident when this outage occurs. If possible, have them put the kit somewhere they can easily access. So I want to show you a picture of my sensory bag. And this is just what it is now, what it was in the last year when I prepared it. And as such, we learned from our experience last night and have some more ideas to prepare it even better. So I'm going to go through it real quick with a quick pointer here. Um, so there's tablets, different writing material, different things, old phones and tablets. Different. There's in that one bag there. There's a different fidget and sensory toys, headphones, different things. There's all kind writing utensils, um, notepads, some tissues, band-aids, some of those things. I have tons of cords for every device that I own, so that if power is off, and there's also power banks available there too. One of the things I did say that would help, other than what my normal other than the power packs, other than the activities, was the fact that I had this little MP3 player here in the middle, and I was able to get through and have that charged and listen to some music this morning to regulate myself properly. So those are some things, and as such, I'm planning to add more because of what I learned this morning. Social stories are always a good thing too, and if you know how to do that, I'm kind of older at the system, so I'm not really familiar with the social stories, but I'm slowly grasping them. And you should prepare a personalized social story about what they can do when a power outage happens. For some individuals, it can be helpful to have that heard and seen images of what could happen ahead of time so they are ready, and it could be read at the outage. It's always good to have, if you haven't already, maybe consider having a power outage drill, like fire drills at schoolwork or programming. Rehearse and practice and what to do in a power outage if you feel that it's needed. It's always good to have food ready, and if it's going to be for several days, you should have food items that one can eat, especially if their food preferences due to sensory issues or they have dietary restrictions. Contact lists are always good. I've never thought of that, but I'm going to work on that now. And you should have a hard copy of a contact list for your medical and support team, since most of the information is stored on the phones. It also helpful to have this information accessible if the outage happens and you are not home, and there's a different caregiver, so on and so forth. So one thing that autistic people really have a thing with is anxiety, and it kind of comorbidates for a little bit. So it's going to be a big thing. You're going to be anxious. You're going to be upset. It's just going to be a part of life. And so, one of those things, there's no doubt you're going to be stressful. Somehow I don't know how I got there without being anxious. I don't. I think I just knew I had to go to bed and just sleep it off. So it's going to be stressful to adjust. It'll be stress for you, but also think about how the autistic person will feel. You should give the person extra patience and time, because they will be needed to be coached through the situation and what to do, because it's something unfamiliar, and may struggle with transition, those sort of things. Provide extra reassurance and acknowledge that the feelings they may be experiencing. Also try to have fun and memorable times. So we're going to talk about some resources. So a lot of these I got there's my website at dustinsdynastyusa.com/resources/emergency. There you'll find all kind of information related to different disaster and emergency preparedness tips, tools, communication boards, different resources, some Pennsylvania related information. There's a section on ready.gov, which is through Homeland Security, and being ready, and ready.gov/disability. You can make an emergency communications plan. They have a nice tool for that, and that's ready.gov/plan-form. There's more information on power outages on ready.gov. Ready.gov/power-outages. And I got some information about sensory issues from the friendship circle. And when the lights go out, how to prepare your child for special needs, with special needs for a power outage. So I want to and there's information about my sensory bag and when the internet goes out on my website, and then we're under the resources, but they're under the sensory bag resources. So I want to thank you for listening today. Um, I hope that was something informational. I found it very informational. I did some research and so forth, but I feel it's very important to share this. And we're going to have more on these series of different emergency perils over time. So I want to thank you for listening, and be sure to have a good day and take care and stay safe now.